Welcome back to Speaking Truth to Goodness, where this season we take you into the lives and visions of Portland's most unique and impactful leaders. I'm your host, Patty Robron, joined by my wonderful co-host, Jerry Atkin. Today we're thrilled to introduce Liv Østhus, also known by her stage name Viva Las Vegas, who is running for mayor of Portland with a campaign unlike any other. Liv isn't just a well-known Portland stripper and cultural icon. She's a published author, writer, and musician with a profound connection to the city's art scene. Her campaign is driven by a vision to rejuvenate Portland's small businesses and arts community, injecting a dose of creativity and hope back into our city governance. Liv's approach emphasizes listening, connection, and the transformative power of the arts in building community resilience. Throughout our discussion, we discover that Liv draws on her connection to the buffalo and how buffalo use their hooves to kick up the soil so that something new might grow. Join us as we explore how Liv's eclectic background and vibrant personality translate into her political aspirations and plans for Portland's future. Stay tuned as she shares her insights on the city's pressing issues and her refreshing perspective on leadership. Here it is. Well, Liv, we are so excited that you agreed to come to our table of candidates.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to have fun today.
I love
and we're going to look at things that really matter.
Yes. Well, I do want to get to know you a little bit first, though, because I saw that you were from the Midwest originally.
Yes.
Tell me how you, made your way into the world and then to Oregon.
All right. So my dad was a soldier of the Lord. I was born in South Dakota to, Norwegian German family. My dad was a football hero, worked at Augustana College. When I was 3, he got the call. God called him up and said, I want you to work for me. So that started a very peripatetic childhood where we moved to...
Wait. You just used a word I don't know.
Peripatetic.
Moving around.
Okay.
I don't know. I think I was really bored in high school and memorized all the vocab words out of boredom, and I just can't help. I can't find an easier word sometimes. So sorry if it makes me come across as highfalutin. I'm not.
Okay, you are bringing up something really important, and it's great that you're our last candidate here because this whole series has been the running joke that Jerry hates when I use words that are more than 5 syllables because he spent his career working with working people. And he was like, no,
you don't need those
speak
words.
the language of the people.
Yeah,
so I get that. But then we also
Patty,
have big beef over the word intersectionality.
Just say the word that causes
intersectionality, Jerry. Intersectionality. Intersectionality.
Stop it.
Yeah.
You mean how interactions affect each other?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Not a traffic thing. Not a traffic thing.
No. Sorry. Yeah. I'm a little sensitive to that.
Oh, I love words. I love the Latin origins, the German origins, Swahili words. I studied 5 languages over my long peripatetic early years.
I am in awe of that. I love words. I'm a writer. It's when you use words that people don't understand to try to explain important things. I tend to get irritated.
Okay, well, I'll just make you really vexed then.
I'll bet you know how to talk to people. That'd be my guess.
Yeah. Well, so I moved around a lot as a kid. That's Army. When people hear my story, they're like, "Were you Army?" I'm like, "Army of the Lord." But so we moved to Minneapolis, St. Paul. My dad went to seminary there, and then we moved to Wisconsin, and so kind of back and forth, like rural, urban, rural. Are you from Minneapolis, St. Paul, or something? This look.
Cult upbringing. When it was California first, but then Wisconsin and Minneapolis.
Wow!
Awesome.
Wow.
Hi, friends.
Yeah, hi. So we're very similar. Although I don't think of the religiosity that I experienced as a cult. Like my dad, like I said, football hero, musician who got called. He said that his doubts. He doubted so much that he wanted to explore his doubts and was so sure. He's like, I dare you to convince me of faith. And then, so he has a very philosophical take on theology, which I really appreciated. Super liberal, pro-choice, pro MSNBC, probably to a fault.
That's really
pro-queer
cool.
rights. What's that?
I mean, yes, Patty had a different experience.
Yeah, and religion can really be toxic. And now there's books lying all over his house, like how to call yourself a Christian in these times. And it's tragic when you've devoted your life to something like that and really see it as a force for good, that all of a sudden it does become anathema to people and hurtful. And people have PTSD that have been around some of these teachings. So, my dad's religion is about joy, forgiveness, love, forgiving. Yes. Everybody gets one chance.
Give him a hug. Give him a hug for me.
Aw, you would love him. Yeah.
Had he lived in
Yeah. Rice Lake, Wisconsin, Galesville, Wisconsin, St. Paul, Minnesota, and then for high school, he got called to this little congregation up in the North Woods of Minnesota. Grand Marais, Minnesota, like loggers and artists. And so that's where I went to high school and went for a year to Germany too. I was very restless as a kid and had never been on a plane. I have 3 younger brothers. We didn't have money to travel. So I raised enough money to go on AFS, American Field Service, and spent a year abroad in Germany. I knew 0 German and came back fluent. And so, traveled throughout Europe on no money. It's amazing how you can travel if you insist on it, with very little. Got into a really good college just because my test scores were so good, I guess. So I went to Williams College, which is considered to be the #1 liberal arts college in the nation. I had mostly a free ride there. Spent a year abroad, junior in Tanzania and Indonesia studying. And then I had $12,000 in college loans, felt really saddled with those, but wanted to be a musician. Came out here, discovered the strip stage. I had been thinking about stripping at college as like an intellectual exercise. And I really believed that it was feminist and stripping was art. And so was curious about investigating that, thought about doing that in Minnesota. My mom's like, this is all very interesting theoretically, but you're actually scheduling an audition? Hell no, your dad's a pastor. So came out here, really burdened by $12,000 in debt, wanted to be a musician, took the stage, and haven't looked back. I did pay off those loans within 5 years, by the way, but it took longer than I thought.
Your musicianship is
what?
What are your musical gifts?
Yeah, I would say I'm primarily a singer. I've studied piano since I was 5. I taught myself guitar in college, so I do write my own songs, guitar and voice. Right now my main band is a French vocal trio. We sing medieval and Renaissance French sex pop. Je suis ici. I'm a trained vocalist. I was in a touring girls choir in middle school. Soprano, sing opera, punk rock. When I moved out here, I really wanted to play punk rock, and I fronted a band called Coco Cobra and the Killers. I've been a part of several country bands. Just nothing is better than being on stage with a guitar and a group of friends. Nothing is better. That's my dream. And the stripping, while I love that too, that primarily was, to buy time to do these other things that I felt called to do, which is music and writing, both. And I can't give up one. People are like, if you gave up one, you might be good at the other, at the other one. I'm like, no, they're both integral to my being. I need the solitude and the writing and the processing, and then I need the stage craft and the vocalization that comes with singing and just screaming. When I went through cancer, that was my therapy, 100%. Just, wow, punk.
I, on the other hand, was a free-range chicken.
What?
No nest, no coop, no pen.
Really?
No flock. But I was always outside, which gave me the opportunity to see the world very, very differently, including going to Africa in my mid-20s with a family.
Uh-huh.
Both my kids got malaria. That was exciting. But what I think I'm suggesting is, if you stay in the rut, let's just call it a rut, nothing imaginative happens. If you move outside it, everything is exciting because you understand it as life itself. And that's what I take away from even this little part of your story, is you've been engaging life from an early age, and oddly had a Christian environment that supported that. That doesn't always happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been like investigating what has been told to me and trying to it didn't ring true, you know. I just saw at a very early age, like, the rich have too much and the poor have too little, and let's have them, let's balance this equation. They're going to give the money to the poor, and then why aren't they doing that? Why? So trying to fight these systems and investigate why they existed. I, very early age, decided that money was the root of all evil. You know, it gets you off on a different path than most of capitalistic society. But as a young kid, I really believed that to be true as the root of all problems, like racism. Why is that a thing? Just try to investigate where it came from. How can we heal it? I love to consider our problems and think of solutions. So spent 50 years doing that and finally decided it's time to run for mayor.
And you have a focus, it sounds like, on small businesses and the arts. And it sounds like that is probably in line with what you're saying there, of understanding how money works.
Yeah. People who create something out of nothing. I mean, magicians, truly. And these are, to me, the bedrock of what makes Portland so wonderful. And so many of those people are getting pushed out by the cost of living, by the high cost of living. All these people were attracted here because of our small businesses, because of our arts. And neither of those are sufficiently funded, in my opinion, by government, the city, the state. They're just kind of taken for granted. And then as we're getting pushed out, I don't hear a voice in city council, in the city government, and the state government. I don't hear voices advocating for the arts and really for small businesses. Like 60 or 70% of Portland's businesses are small business. That's amazing. That's very different than going to Minneapolis. Like, I love Minneapolis too, but you look around, a lot of chain stores, just not the mom and pop businesses that we are so lucky to have here.
Yeah, agree. Very much agree.
So then you began to sort of open up a possibility of, I was just talking with someone about during the WTO demonstrations 25 years ago, that the government corporate response was, there is no alternative. And the response was, another world is possible. But a lot of people buy the fact that there's no alternative.
They lack imagination.
And why? Because they go to schools where imagination is not valued.
Right.
So
beaten out of you.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
or bored out of you.
Right.
You can be bored out
Certainly.
of you too, but it's like, so what I'm sensing here is, I believe that all change that's going to make a difference has to come from the ground up. It can't come down. It just won't work. It's how we work together, how we treat each other. This crazy concept called kindness, I don't know where that came from, is the bedrock of everything. This is someone who spent like 60 years doing theory and politics and, working in nonprofits and I was, it really comes down to how we treat each other. And if we can't have a conversation, we're never going to get out of this alive. I mean, literally, we're not going to get out of this alive. So I love the perspective that you bring to something as often sterile as politics, which is not creative.
Well, I'm kind of curious now, given that we're switching our council model from the 4 to the 12 and different districts and all of that, it also changes the mayoral role. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that and why you see yourself as a good fit for this new way that the mayor is going to interact in the city.
Right. Well, I've been encouraged to throw my hat in the ring for years, but it never really appealed to me. I don't want to run bureaus. I don't want to legislate. I'm a stage creature. And when I saw this new form of governance, I thought, the mayor's a stage creature now. Like, the mayor is primarily a figurehead. Yes, they have important jobs to do, but, you get a wonderful team of brilliant people around you to help you hire the city administrator, help you find the best chief of police for Portland. And then what I want from the mayor, somebody who listens to everyone, connects with everyone, inspires everyone. That's what a stripper does every day with every person who comes through that door. I don't care what color, creed, they have to be over 21, but that's a stripper's job. And I think that I'm amazing. A perfect fit for the mayor. And I want a mayor who is positive, is optimistic, has hope, reflects the best parts of Portland to Portlanders and to the nation and to the world, because we've got this real dark story about what Portland is, and it's partly true, and even that story negates the humanity and the amazing gifts that our houseless people, that are drug addicts, still are humans and have magic and gifts and talents that are not spoken to. They're totally dehumanized by that narrative, and I'm over it.
Yeah. What is it that you know about humans' needs and desires that we aren't meeting right now, that we need to do for each other?
Well, kindness, like you said, and recognizing the basic human spark in everyone. But we need beauty and we need truth. And I think people come into strip clubs not for a sexual interaction. They come in for beauty, and there's something fundamentally truthful about that interaction. A smile for $1. Like, people just want kindness, and that's another task of a dancer, is to be kind to, the CEO of some company and to the homeless person in a wheelchair. So those are neglected by our current society and called for. Beauty and truth.
So one of the things that I think is important about Kamala Harris's candidacy is it's like opened the can of hope that's been blocked, and it's going to go lots of places. It's not just going to go to Kamala. It's going to go into community organizing, and instead of running bureaus, city council people are going to be community organizers. They're going to be paid to organize the community. And if the cohort that we've interviewed is successful, holy shit.
They're amazing, right? They're
Holy
amazing.
shit.
I agree.
We could turn this fucking thing around.
It's exciting.
You'd never get a chance to do such a complete flip.
I know, it's really
You'd
exciting.
get a little change here, no. We're going to dump this water out and refill the bathtub.
Right. Yep. Thank you, Portland, for voting this in.
Exactly.
Like, professionals running bureaus. What a great idea! And then, inspired people.
I want to do it. I want to run the police department. Well, I do want to run the police department.
Yeah, right. Yes, that's needs some new runners, leaders.
So do you have some thoughts on, all of the different people that you recognize are people with valid feelings, thoughts, things they can contribute to our communities? What are your thoughts on how those people are reached out to and brought in so that their voices are heard?
Are you speaking specifically to the houseless and the people suffering from addiction that I mentioned, or just everyone?
I guess everyone, because I think there's a lot of very middle class folks just sitting in their houses doing all the normal things they're supposed to do, and they're also missing it. But yeah, definitely starting with the ones whose voices are least heard.
Well, that's an interesting point, that, everyone has that creative spark in them. Everyone is an artist, and there's probably partly through schooling that we're just told that, either you can't do that because it's not capitalistically feasible, or you don't have the talent required. But we are all artists, and I've called upon my, big A artist friends, it's our task partly to humanize the people downtown, to listen to their stories, write them, make a song out of them, or give them the microphone.
There's this idea that someone shared with me quite late, maybe 15 years ago, cultural humility. Difference is not threatening. Difference is exciting. And kindness is our natural movement. I found I could go almost anywhere and almost into any community safely. Because I brought this sense of respect and excitement and joy. And it's not complicated. It's easy. It's easy to do. So the ability that you have to go into whatever aspect of the community, I doubt there's anyone you can't find a way to connect to, and is so critical and such a desperate need. And you'll do it one way or the other. Whether you're mayor or not, you're going to go on doing what you fucking do until you draw.
Exactly. I've not changed. That's what I bring to the stage, what I bring to the music stage, to the books is a attempt to connect with everyone and to show us all that we're the same deep down, and to connect and listen.
That's beautiful. I mean, the name of this podcast is Speaking Truth to Goodness, and only this series is the candidate one. I mean, other than that, that's been the whole goal as well, is to talk with people who are having visions for what we can do together and how we can make the world better together, not in like some white savior way, but in a like, hey, everyone has a part to play in this, and what maybe we need to be able to give it is hope.
Right.
The thing that stops us from not going ahead and helping with something is we think it's not going to do anything anyway.
Which is why I wasn't going to run for mayor for a long time. Like, why am I needed? Why inconvenience myself and my daughter and do this? And I don't belong on that stage. Like, wait a minute, yes you do. This is a democracy. Like, those people are no smarter than you. You're the same age. We're all 50. Three of us candidates are. I'm like, am I old enough? Am I grown up enough for that? Like, yes, you belong up there. We all belong up there. And I think a lot of us struggle with that, like imposter syndrome. When it comes to politics, I'm not a politician. When I finally made peace with this was when I said, it's not me entering politics. It's another facet of my art career that I'm exploring and stepping onto a different stage. Then I was like, oh, I get it.
It's a great way to think about it.
She's making me really happy.
You seem happy already.
I think she's good at that.
Oh, yeah, good, yes.
I'm going to reinvest it. I'm going to take that joy and spread it.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And if I don't make 15 people laugh in the day, I feel like I have failed. I have other technically more serious goals, but I'll do anything for a laugh.
I got some good strip club jokes if you need them.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
What did the 2 tampons say to the passerby?
No.
Nothing. They were stuck-up cunts.
It's necessary to break the pattern. It's necessary to break things up. It's necessary to be silly.
Yeah.
It's necessary to be loving and kind while you're being silly.
Silly.
And it's like, so you're an enemy of the state.
Yeah.
Me too. Her too.
I really worried about that initially, like started locking my doors and like was worried about for my safety and that of my kid, and not really from the usual suspects, but from the state, just like, oh no.
Why?
Well, I don't know. Well, especially with divisions, like the right has become so, it has a tendency towards violence. I do.
Right.
Sometimes I worry about my messaging around public safety. Listen, I'm starting to get really hot things. I'm like, well, I don't want to piss the wrong person off because I want to sleep at night and I want my daughter to feel safe in our house. But that's kind of what you signed up for. Like Mingus Maps, Commissioner Maps, is a friend of a friend. He's been a mentor to me. I've seen him socially for a couple years, and he told me about the panic button in his house. That sucks.
Does that mean he gets enough people coming to his house causing...
Or situations where he feels like he needs to use it. And
I love to hear your public safety ideas.
Well, so the Oregonian OPB, we have all these questionnaires we have to do for endorsements. And they asked me what I thought about expanding the Portland Police Force, if we should get a lot more cops than the city council has already approved. And I said, our Portland Police Force has a culture problem. Like, the Department of Justice oversees it because they've had such poor treatment of the mentally ill. And it's the 18th anniversary of James Chassie being murdered by them in broad daylight. And so to me, it's unconscionable to expand that organization until the culture is changed. I've spoken to 2 police members off the record who wanted that themselves. Like, one of them had retired or left the force because just like the chief will say to the mayor, yeah, we're changing something. And then he'll come and talk to us and say, we're not changing anything. So that's a culture that needs to be changed. And until that changes, we shouldn't expand them. We could expand the detective force, Portland Street Response. prop it up. Anti-trafficking organizations. There's parts of the police department that perhaps could use more of the money, but to just hire more rank and file police without proper training, without that culture, without clear evidence that culture is changing, and making sure that police oversight or that advocacy, that 385-page document that people
the
spent
citizens,
years,
right? It was like a citizens council they were working on setting up.
Yeah, I can't remember what the document's called. Portland. Like Dan Handelman from Cop Watch. I've talked to people who were instrumental in making it, and then the city council eviscerated it and trimmed it down to 5 pages. But when that document that the voters overwhelmingly voted for 80% or more to make sure that there was oversight and there was citizen oversight, until that is a well-oiled, well-functioning machine, then maybe we'll talk about expansion.
People suggest that the Portland police union is more like the National Rifle Association, that it's not a union. So here's a story you may not know, which you might be able to use at some point. So the most dangerous city in America, maybe back in the 80s, I don't know, maybe 90s even, Camden, New Jersey. Most violent crime in the country. And they went to a community policing model. And over 10 years, they reduced violence by, 85%.
You're kidding me. That's
and
amazing.
Nobody talks about Camden.
Wow, interesting.
85%.
Community policing. Well, there you go. Like, hire people from the community.
People who live in the community, policing the community.
Who understand the community. Those are good jobs for most of the communities.
It's not impossible.
Yeah. I
it's
advocate
a challenge,
for that too.
but it's not impossible.
But
that figure never comes up. No. It was the most dangerous city in America.
But Jerry, they don't want news like that getting out.
They might have to restructure something.
Yeah, the police forces around the country right now are living good. The amount of trickle down military grade everything that they're getting because of our insane military budget. Sorry, going off of Portland here, but it's too big of a gravy train for them to be wanting actual success stories to get out there. Come on now.
So I'm partially responsible for that.
Okay.
Because the WTO demonstrations, we actually won. And the next demonstration was completely militarized.
Yeah.
I mean, there literally
when you
was
say
a
won,
complete change. So the World Trade Organization...
I remember the protests, but...
they had their ministerial meeting in Seattle, and we shut it down. And they had to give up and go home. And 400 people were arrested.
That was exciting.
But there was very little violence. There was even police violence. It was so creative. You would have loved it. Dance troops and amazing ways to sort of link yourself together so nobody could possibly deal with you. And it was the most creative action I have ever seen by far, with so much joy and so much integrity. So literally, because Seattle could not contain it and had to give in, every other police force said, not on our watch. And I do believe that the militarization of all that war surplus stuff,
of the WTO.
if it may have begun, but it completely accelerated. The next demonstration was in Miami, and they herded people into cul-de-sacs and beat them. And I don't know how long you've been doing police accountability, but Kate Lohr was the social justice minister at the Unitarian Church. She lost partial eyesight. She took a bunch of parishioners to Miami, and she lost partial sight in one eye from being tear gassed in the eye.
So here's a thing that, because of that story and other ones like it, that I am realizing in the world of activism right now. If we want to be peaceful activists and we have a really good idea, we get one fucking shot, because it won't work again.
Right.
They'll be ready for us.
Right.
And we don't think of it that way. We're not thinking of what fucked up thing are they going to do next. Let's head them off at the pass. We're just like, love and peace, bitches. Let's do this. And that is not the train they're on. And so when we have a good idea, we ought to make it go far.
Don't get me started on that. The difference between tactics and having a plan is significant. Strategy is very different. Civil disobedience is not a strategy; it's a tactic.
Anymore.
If it's not serving a particular path, you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So.
Interesting.
Okay,
I'm calming down now.
Yeah, right.
Unlikely. So thank you for being who you are. Thank you for
It
doing
ain't
what
easy.
you do. It's not easy. No, it's not easy at all. So that gives you some props for doing it.
Thank you.
And you have a 9-year-old. That's another entire responsibility.
It's my campaign manager.
Your campaign
One of them,
manager.
I have a more official grown-up one too.
Oh, no.
But
Nine.
oh yeah, it's great. My daughter loves canvassing. I did ask for her permission and for permission from my partner and stepdaughter, 'cause this is a big sacrifice for all of us, but it's been less of a sacrifice than I would have expected because they're really excited. They're really excited to learn about it and to participate. And I'm super excited to share, my learning with them. This is how things work. And here's what's really frustrating. And they're a great comfort to me too when I do get
And
sad or
9-year-olds are
mad.
cool. 9-year-olds are amazing.
Yeah, she's pretty cool.
Well, and I know we've had other candidates at the table during this series that were very passionate about the idea that children are very much Portlanders and their voice and the way they want their future to, I'm going to cry, right? Like the way they are seeing the world and how they want their world to be. Yeah, of course they should have their voices heard.
I know, I often say, I'm going to give the vote to 9-year-olds, vote for me. Or 8-year-olds or whatever. But they deserve more of a voice, and we don't listen to them like they honestly are more enlightened because they're less. They haven't been bored to death or beat down by educational system. They're still creative and innovative, and all those words.
Patty has a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old.
I know.
They're teaching me about the world.
That's amazing. Yeah, we're lucky. We're lucky to
They're
have
amazing.
them.
We are.
Yeah.
We do have family night later today.
We do.
I'm the surrogate grandfather.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
It's really cool.
What do you do on family night?
Well, because they are also free-range chickens. They are master crafters. And so, we do play games. We do eat food. We do hang out. And they take their own peripatetic paths through the house.
Sorry.
That's amazing.
I know these words, and they're appropriate in this context. But they're live, so I think it's safe to say that you tried to raise your children in a completely different way than you were raised. And so they are wild animals, not in the sense of out of control, but like wild. They're animals.
They know this world is for
alive.
them to explore.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not putting them in boxes.
No.
That's the thing. So many
They're
situations.
They're hilarious. I adore them.
And the way we do
adore
life, we
them.
just try to put kids in boxes, and I hate that. It's just we put them in boxes early so that they get used to it, so they can sit in their
like
boxes,
like
cubicles, etc. when they get
Caging
big.
for a
Well,
dog.
there's all this
Caging.
ADHD. I'm like, no, that's normal behavior when you are forced to sit in a chair for 8 hours as a kid and just,
So one of your tasks is to unleash the beauty and creativity of your daughter. Mm-hmm. Whatever else goes on, that's going to be what you do.
And protect her from the boxes, her other biological contributors. A big fan of the normal box world. So, but I, offer a different perspective, surely, and
Yes, definitely.
One thing I should give credit is due is psilocybin. I think Oregon, we have amazing innovative thinking, and we are using this medicine that grows out of the ground and honoring it for what it is. It's medicine, and it's free. And I see all these people downtown who psilocybin heals depression and trauma and addiction. It reforms your brain, your neural pathways, and I just this is a perfect medicine for that population. And I during COVID, I couldn't find therapists to deal with my own PTSD that was coming up, and ended up doing a couple psilocybin ceremonies, deep dive, and found it was just a really remarkably healing, generational healing, lots of trauma healing. And that's one of the messages I have received from psilocybin is it's time for you to step forward. It's time for you to leave your comfortable home. And I always turn into a buffalo from South Dakota, and I just the vision of a buffalo's hooves kicking up the dirt to allow new things to grow. And I see earthworms, I see badgers, I see things that tunnel under the the soil to aerate it, as just it's time from the bottom up. You said from the ground up. It is time for us to aerate the soil for new things to grow. And my last vision was about the people who live downtown and who live next to the earth. They live on Mother Earth's breast. They are. That's our new pioneers. That's what our lives should look more like. Not the addiction piece, but being so close to the earth and not having these giant towers and all this electricity and plumbing. Like, we're going to have to make some big changes as climate really changes. And those people are doing it. They are climate warriors. I toured Ground Score Association, where a lot of the houses are employed to pick up trash, and the head of it said they are so concerned with, environmentally responsible, all of them, is they live on the earth. Those are their communities, and they make sure that what can be recycled is more so than probably most of us do. So it's interesting. Thanks for listening.
No, I so appreciate the psilocybin discussion.
Just miracle healing for
And
me.
So asking for a friend, did you do this more in the large trips, or was there like a microdose element to what you did for healing?
For me, it was really the large guided trips. I found a guide who is also, a trained therapist and acupuncturist, who started leaving those more academic professions because she wasn't seeing the results that she wanted, and was seeing results by doing these guided trips. And so, I had the government bucks from bartending during COVID, and I had time for the first time in my life. I had psilocybin journeys 8 hours plus, and you better take 8 hours off after that too. So that's not usually how my life has worked. But I did a couple of those. I learned to prioritize them. Like once every couple of years, I'm doing that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I have had such healing, like trauma just lifted from me. Yeah.
So you said the magic word. There used to be a game show where if you said a particular word, it would drop down from the sky. Patty's word is trauma.
Yeah.
If you say trauma, Patty
Spend a lot of time on that.
Right there. So my and this is a really painful conversation with me. I'm Indigenous heritage Osage. I need to be on the land. I physically can't be on the land. But if you wanted to know what my real life goal was, I wanted to bring back the buffalo. And people say, oh, we have these herds. No, I want to bring them all back. I want them to trample all this crap that's going on and restore the natural balance that the buffalo is.
That's what their hooves are made for, is to kick up the dirt so seeds can grow. And I'm from South Dakota. My parents over their hearth have a huge picture of bison. It says "Dream back the bison." And
Hi, this is Editing Patty here, breaking in to say that what you're about to hear is Jerry tearing a small Velcro tapestry of buffalo off his wall and giving it to Liv.
you gotta believe it's possible. My dear friend, Portland's poet laureate Walt Curtis, he's from this part of the world, and his dream is to bring back the salmon to our rivers. And, that's a bellwether of a system in balance, is to have our salmon back in the Willamette. Oh, yes, yes, yes.
It's yours.
What? Really? Oh, my God. Oh, thank you. I'll put this with my, I have a little thank you altar with thank you.
Gosh.
That is very, you just ripped this off your wall.
I did.
Thank you.
Yeah, when you said buffalo, I just a shiver went from my head to my toes, and I looked at Jerry because he's told me the buffalo thing before.
I am a buffalo. And I'm so called to get my other buffalo together.
Yes. So I had this dream. I think it was a dream. It might have just been a vision. I don't know. We were in a theater, and on this big screen, there are buffalo milling about on the screen, and they turn and look toward the audience and come out of the screen and gallop across the theater back out into the world.
Yes. Let's keep dreaming, Jerry. These dreams are important.
It's a deep dream, and it's we are so far from that. My heart is so broken. And my heritage Killers of the Flower Moon is my father's story, my grandfather's story. He was 10.
I didn't want to
when
even
that
watch
happened.
that movie, but I did. I didn't.
I
I
can't.
couldn't read the book. I just couldn't.
I can't do it. I try.
Yeah,
but
heard.
my daughter, one of my daughters says that the beautiful depiction of the Osage culture is worth the
Much
trauma.
care was taken,
Yeah.
and it. I struggle with that. Like, representation is so important because otherwise we forget these stories. Like Land O'Lakes Butter, there was a little Native American girl front and center on it, and that was a Minnesota dairy, Land O'Lakes. In the last, 5-10 years, there was a movement to take her off, and they did. But some natives even pushed back, like that is representative. We were here. And yeah, it looks like tokenism when it's just this little native girl in the middle of all this lakes. But when she's gone, I found that more troubling because we have to remember that they were there. They are still here. And I do, as part of my campaign, is I want to center Indigenous knowledge because they know how to be stewards of this land. They know things. They haven't forgotten how to take care of this, and we need to listen and connect.
Well, the whole climate change movement needs to open itself up more completely to Indigenous knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't do such a good job of that.
Wasn't that the environmental movement? So much of it was from the boxes, like the lawyers. I wanted to be an environmental lawyer because that's where I saw the fight happening. And I tried, just a little taste of that at college.
Well, the thing I realize is when we go to college, I understand why that got put in place. I understand why we did that. But then we create, here is the entirety of the body of knowledge of this topic that you're this tiny little thing that you are supposed to learn all of this and enact it exactly as it is. But that is not how reality works. Everything is connected. Mm-hmm. We cannot separate life into subjects, and we are causing ourselves problems by trying to do it because, someone will go to the doctor and they've got an issue here, but the doctor's like, oh, no, I only deal with this little part right here. And it's like, okay, that's an inch away. Like, it's probably connected. Oh, that's not my specialty.
Right.
And so we miss connections between things, like in our bodies, in our society, in our families, because we're not taught to look at how things are connected. We're taught to see the world in subjects. We're fucking ourselves over with it.
Can't see the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
It is a huge problem. And I see that when I hear about, the city council, that's your bureau. Or the county is responsible for housing and healthcare, which, is technically true, but that doesn't absolve the city from reimagining the relationship or just, how to take care of the forest. We have to take care of the individual trees, and it is the responsibility of a city to make sure that it is functional. So get it together.
Say, probably more falling at the feet of the mayor at this point, given the new layout.
Well, I want the mayor to be head storyteller, and the story has to be like, we are all in this together, and it's not just the county screwed up, and they're not sitting down to table with us. Be like, tell
the
a
mayor
different
should
story.
be a storyteller.
Ooh, tell a different
Lead
story.
storyteller. Yes, yeah.
It's beautiful. I love that framing of it. Honestly,
It's true.
It is true.
This is a wise woman, actually.
yes, yes, you are.
Sorry,
Actually,
I'm old. I get to say whatever I want.
I'm just still.
Yeah.
Am I grown up to be a woman? Yeah, I guess so.
Oh,
Right? I'm
just a
44.
big
I
kid.
do the same thing. I'm like, wait, really?
Yeah,
There's
no,
all these other people being grown-ups. I suppose I could do
I'm
that
84.
too. I don't know.
Yeah.
84.
Are you a grown-up
and You're
yet?
just a big kid too.
Yeah. Well,
this is
there's
so
that.
beautiful.
You're so perceptive on top of everything else.
Yeah.
I want you to have that,
Thank you. Are you sure? Yes,
Yeah.
I
no,
love
I just
it.
want you to be clear that it
Thank
called out
you.
your name,
Yes.
actually.
I got these white cowboy boots that I would often wear to early campaign events when I was really scared. I was like, this is a really different radical stage for me, and I don't know the language or the moves. And so I'd always wear my white cowboy boots because they were my hooves to kick up the soil. And I still wear them occasionally, but now I have kind of grown, my power has grown where I don't need the hooves. I can wear whatever shoes I want.
No. Ugh.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. We start losing our trappings when we realize our own
You
power.
don't need anything.
Yeah.
You don't need anything.
It's true.
Yeah.
Symbols are important for some times, for some people at some times, but yeah, you don't need them.
Can we talk though about the fact that like you go on stage presumably without clothes on or have?
Right.
And I mean, so there's a point in there where you've got to like know your own power because you're not hiding behind sequins or, like, right? So what is that process like?
The power there, I believe, is that the naked woman on stage, it presumes a vulnerability, which I think the viewer like perceives a vulnerability that's not necessarily there, but that opens the viewer up and lets them be vulnerable. And that's where a connection really can occur. Also, I truly believe that seeing a nude woman, something happens in our lizard brain where we just relax, we feel safe, we feel nourished. It's just like this mammalian thing. Like, I see boobs, I see this curve, this beautiful woman. I'm safe. If a woman is here and nude, I am safe and I will be held and nourished. I think
And that is what I wanted to hear from you. Like what you know about lizard brain humanity that you learned by way of that choice of a job. It's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah. It's been a real gift to me, and to meet the other women who, and people who do that work, and the strength there. And we are looked down upon all the time. So we have our own sisterhood, brotherhood, and we support each other. And it's just what a blessing to have stumbled into that out of intellectual curiosity and to have found a family. Yeah.
Do you feel like because the dance community or the like performing community is sort of ostracized, would you say that actually drives their togetherness and the way that they provide community to each other?
Well, I think that much of the societal bullshit vanishes when you realize that you can make a lot of money naked, because there's so much shame throughout society, and when you call shenanigans on that, like it's just like, it's hard to talk to people who still believe that. So their sisterhood comes from that. But also, yeah, I mean, I often describe it as a liminal place where normal rules don't quite apply at a strip club. It's not accepted, but it's not illegal. It's not, it's still shamed, but it's also, if you go to an art museum, there's nude women exalted all over the place. So, it's just a strange gray area that I think allows for a lot of freedom of thought and movement that people don't. It's good that they don't know.
Yeah.
The distinction between average and normal is important. You are normal, but you are not average.
Interesting.
Isn't that an interesting flip?
Yeah, right.
And it's
right,
true.
Yeah.
By that, I'm even normal. Wow, it's
right.
exciting.
I saw somebody say, if everyone is neurodivergent, is
Oh,
it
yes.
neurodivergent?
Neurodivergent. Okay, so you get to use that one because people who are neurodivergent find comfort in the term.
Yeah. Well, and nobody is neurotypical. Neurotypical is a bullshit fantasy, and that it's the box. Like, you can fit in the box very well. Good job. You're neurotypical. But most of us at some point in our journey have trouble with that, or should.
Yeah. I have heard more recently, it seems like they're starting to use neurodiverse to indicate.
I like, yes.
What
I
are
like
you
that.
doing?
I like that.
What the heck are you doing?
I'm tired of waving my fingers at you. I'm
okay.
applauding.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's normal. Yeah, we're all normal. Yeah.
Oh.
Some of us have more struggles in this box society with our diversity, but
Yeah, right.
and those are to be advocated for.
But I feel like if we start saying things, how words shape us, right? It's like if we start saying neurodiverse, well, we think of it as like, oh, there's an array instead of neurodiverse, like, oh, there's normal and there's other. Just those few letters, and it
Makes
but
a
enough
difference.
times.
I love that. I hadn't heard that. I'm very happy with
good.
neurodiverse.
Yeah.
Perfectly
Yeah.
acceptable.
Isn't that right? It's probably from the same root. I'm diverging.
Oh,
but
yeah.
somehow divergent sounds not good.
Right. Neurodiverse is multi-path. Divergent is a path off of the main.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. No, you were right, though. Definitely connected. Yeah, hey, I love words.
Yeah, me too. Thanks, words, for being there.
I do too. I want them to use appropriately for the audience.
Oh.
Does that make me bad?
No.
What does make me bad? Because I know I'm bad.
Do you remember any Swahili for our Swahili listeners?
That would be amazing. We haven't translated the podcast into enough languages yet, it seems.
Oh.
I have a thing about words, though. I think we all get our panties in a twist about the definitions of words, but I don't think we typically use words for their definitions. I think we use words because of the feeling it creates in our body or the feeling we want to create in other people when we use those words.
Interesting.
You know, right? Because we could look at a definition, and even then I think we'll have different feelings about words.
Yeah.
Right? Because we kind of almost assign like a good, bad binary to almost every fucking word. Right. Why do we do that?
Yeah. Well, I love words that have like rhythm to them. That's why I love peripatetic or like have a...
It does. Peripatetic is a lovely word.
Or I love alliteration.
But if you use it with a steelworker, you're probably not going to communicate what you want to communicate. Right. This is why I hang out with her.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, the insight there is just delicious.
Without her, I'm dull and lethargic. But,
whatever.
This is such a great conversation. It's such an important conversation.
Thanks for having me.
And I feel like I can have small parts of it with people, but rarely can I sort of, bring out the buffalo. I mean, but that's how we need to talk to each other. Yeah, I don't talk falsely, but I don't tell everything I know all the time. And yet we're at that stage where we need to be constantly up against the joy, up against the fear, up against the danger. Every minute, we have to be fully alive and engaged. Yeah, does that sound familiar to you?
Yes. Well, I loathe to engage in small talk and always have been. And that is a challenge. Partly the mayor race is, they keep handing you the mic and people seem to have these kind of regurgitated answers. And they seem to be speaking to whatever choir they're in front of. Like, so when they hand me the mic, I try to use my time to really advance a new idea or a new concept, or just wake somebody up to be like, oh yeah, that is a strange way to look at it. How we've been doing it can be changed.
You bring up a really good point that, and I don't know if you meant it exactly this way, but kind of no matter if you win mayor or not, you have changed the conversation. Yes. Right? And we can come back to your changing the conversation, but that idea first was apparent to me knowing Andra, because Andra's running without money, entirely on a platform of climate. And so what they've been able to do is when there's a forum, guess what? Everyone has to listen to them say something about all those oil tanks up on our North Shore there. Mm-hmm. And that forces everyone else to fucking pay attention and be like, oh shit, I need to have an opinion on that. Yep. So it changes the conversation. Right. So what would you see as the things that you're bringing to this new style of race that's changing the conversation?
Well, I've already seen the other mayoral candidates embrace some of my talking points, platforms, obviously support of the arts, advocating for arts and cost of living, making sure that is accessible to not just artists but to everyone. The environment, I do not hear enough from the mayoral candidates about the environment, although I don't feel like I've changed that as much as I want to yet, but really a message of hope and optimism. Nobody was doing that back in March and April. It was all like, Portland's having a really hard time. None of the mayoral candidates were doing it. Portland's having a hard time, but our best days are ahead. And I was like, I don't want to hear that. And, I started losing some of my momentum in the summer. I was tired and my kid was home from school. And then when Kamala, that was a breath of air. Let's just say air, because we were all circling the drain. But then when Kamala brought it on Tim Walz, I was in Minnesota at the time, and that I was like, these guys are totally stealing my platform. They're taking the hope and optimism thing and running with it. And there was a surge of like energy for my campaign too, because I am the hope and optimism campaign in the mayoral race. One of my psilocybin visions, it was very climate change oriented. There was a tree just screaming and lighting itself on fire, and just like was so mad. It's like the man will never ask to cut me down. It never says, "Can I take you?" And if you ask the woman would always say, "No, I don't want that tree to be made into a boat to send my son off to sea. I don't want it to be made into a coffin for him to come home from war." And it was like, you have to ask the woman. And then the snake became the interlocutor between tree, nature, and woman. I was like, this is some Eve bullshit.
I know. I was like, that sounds familiar.
I know, but because the snake could talk, the woman could speak snake, and the snake could speak tree, and then the woman was burned and crucified and drowned over and over again for centuries because she was speaking for the earth. And it was just like, nope, we don't want to hear it. Nope. These are visions from psilocybin, but that was a scary one. I was just like, what do I do with this information? But in that one too is a real message of braiding, it was a native community, and just like the braiding of the hair, and that the men would protect the women as a girl grew into her adulthood, which was a vulnerable time where she could be, used or misused, but the mom would just carefully braid it, and that was the idea of braiding families together and histories together. But so I love psilocybin. Thank you for healing me and for your messages,
I do. I'm very inspired by your psilocybin journeys, and it makes me wonder if you have anything in your platform that would enshrine that medicine for people who need it.
Well, yeah, I'm eager to talk about it more on the campaign trail. I hope that as the mic gets passed to me, because when we're talking about solutions for our addiction crisis, like Oregon is on the frontiers of psilocybin research, but it's still so codified. One retired doctor, lives out in Hood River, came into Mary's Club and was like, I'm not a Portlander, my donation doesn't go very far, but I want to offer you a guided psilocybin session so you can speak to that on the campaign trail and how different it is, because the ones I'd done previously were sub-legal, I guess, and it's very different. It's very expensive and much more inaccessible. There's so much bureaucracy, of course, lots of boxes to check to get that healing. Whereas, these people downtown, I talk to people who grow mushrooms who are like ex-felons, like, we know that this would help, and here's my idea. I have farmland outside of town, like take them to the land, give them a bunch of shrooms, give them 30 days, and just be like, you're on the land the first 5 days, you just lie there and then see what you can, once you're a little bit detoxed, like maybe you can try to grow something and heal that way. I'm like, wow,
that's fucking beautiful.
Thanks for coming into Mary's and telling me that. There are some more radical solutions out there that I don't know if Portland's ready for. I'm a fan of safe usage sites. I said that at one of my first mayoral stumps, and people are like, oh, you'll never get anywhere with that. I'm like, why not? Like candidates like Renee Gonzalez, the more law and order candidates, like, we got to get those people out of our site, get them out of downtown. I'm like, one way to do that would help everybody is get a facility, get a safe usage sites. The people will go to the safe usage sites. They will use, but they would also be connected with services. But it would solve your dream of having them off the sidewalks, or out of sight. Ugh. It's so important for us to see the breakdown of capitalism. Those people are houseless and addict neighbors. That's a normal reaction to how capitalism is, and it's death throes, and we need to be reminded of its brokenness. And
see, I have thought or wondered or assumed for quite some time that it's rather intentional that a certain number of unhoused folks are left out and visible, because for those who are working, struggling, or working a job they don't really like, it's a really fucking good reminder of like, see,
absolutely,
just don't go punch that clock. It could be you.
My partner says that too. It's just like a threat to the the middle class is like, oh, if I don't do this, then that. And
that is Yes.
And then you go to a place like Finland and you're like, how are they doing everything right? Or, I mean, not that everything's perfect over there and they have more homogenous societies, but there are different systems that are working. There's data available. I never hear people talk about, let's use data from some place that is doing it well. Like Denver or Boston or
Camden.
Finland or Camden. Yes. Camden.
Remember that word, Camden.
But data does, we don't produce data to point to a betterment for people. Although we could. We produce data to make fourth quarter earnings be higher. And that's, I really struggle to see anything that is bigger as like the core of our issue than that. Right. But I mean, even the core of that is kindness, right? Because we're seeing the need for our safety because we've been put in a place of fear where we can't recognize the humanity of each other because we're too scared for our own existence.
I did a photo exhibit here, as you know, a rather large one, and one section was about the homeless people across the street, the bus kiosk, and I didn't want to be mean, so I just asked a question: at what point did human beings become trash? At what point? Oh, that's the point when we stop being human. That's pretty clear about that. Okay, I'm ticking again. I'm going to sit over here and yell, and then I won't do it anymore. She's so mean to me.
I can plainly see that. Well, it's like when I came home from Tanzania. So Tanzania, when I studied there in 1995, was the second poorest nation on earth. And I was like, but it seems to me that people are happier there and that they have everything they need. They might not have any plumbing or electricity, but old women stood in a circle and danced for hours in the night. And it just occurred to me that the way we measure gross national product is gross. It's fallacious. Like, you measure it off of fourth quarter earnings or whatever. You know, like, that's not a metric that means anything. That's literally a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, how often do elderly women stand in a circle and dance at night? That's your metric.
So when Lee was in jail in Flagstaff, Arizona, on the weekends, when the indigenous women would get drunk, they would be thrown in jail and they would dance.
Yes! I love that! Oh my gosh.
Yeah. You know, there's, again, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but oh my God, I mean, the tragedy of indigenous people in this country is, and yet, what persists? A secret kind of knowledge that is hidden away and ignored that's still there. And I think Patty actually saw me have a slight shamanic event at one point. I did not need psilocybin to do that, but because, so I say there are three stages: knowing that everything is connected, feeling that everything is connected, and being connected to everything. And the sort of the shamanic point, or whatever, is allow us to experience in its true deepest form that truth. And if we're open to it, we can never forget it.
Right.
So it's now, we can be distracted, we can be diverted, but it's like, I have no doubt about the connection of everything. And that you cannot consider one small piece unless it's connected to all the other pieces and not do violence to the reality. This is as far away from how capitalism works as you can get. Commodification. Another great long word, right? Okay, I got busted again. You know, it's like turning everything into a commodity, and I think, that's a whole other. So, for Tars, we were sitting there, they were crafting, we were talking about the podcast, and they simultaneously started chanting, what? Late stage capitalism! Late stage capitalism!
Oh, for cute! Oh, that's way better than what I mean, I'm always like surrounded by Taylor Swift and Olivia Rodrigo, but that's better.
It was hilarious.
I don't even know why they did it. I don't even know where they remembered it from.
Either.
Oh, delightful.
But they was spontaneous, and they did it simultaneously. And they didn't even look up. They just kept crafting. enchanted late-stage capitalism.
Land should never be owned. That's ridiculous. There's no borders but skateboarders. There's a candidate for mayor from a couple terms ago. If we didn't have borders, it wouldn't be us and them. It wouldn't, these conflicts would be effete. I mean, there'd still be the other, and we'd still... I sometimes feel like that's our burden in life. Just life is... The meaning of life is trying to, I don't know, exist with the other, and it's always going to be a fight or a fuck. I don't know. It's even, the animal world. I mean, there's always antagonism, right, that propels us forward or backwards, seemingly, but that's there's ball of wax. I do believe in joy, a fundament of joy and love and harmony and growth and.
But I think we can have all those things and recognize that it coexists with shit.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right? Because I think that's the thing is like we get this idea of heaven early on or something where we think, okay, well, if things are shit, then they can't be good. Well, no. I mean, it's like you can love someone and be angry at the same time. And so these things can coexist, and they have to coexist because the love piece is the only thing that makes the other pieces bearable.
Yeah. Well, religion is a top-down conceit, right? Or monotheism is, but then we're talking about ground up. That's more like a native idea, like ground up. Yeah, no trickle-down stuff, and that is seemingly what monotheism is. Like, it's...
Would it be more like pantheism, maybe, that everything is deity, everything is one?
Yeah.
I don't know.
The sacred is in everything.
The idea that if I look at an unhoused man there in his darkest point, like, I am him.
Yeah. Yep. That's how broken we are.
Well, but that like... that we are all one thing.
Yeah.
Like we're so connected that like I might as well be him.
Right.
And to allow him to
need to pick him up and help him. So what do you need? And it's going to be a long journey because it was allowed to devolve to there. My partner, African American, owned his house for, till he died at 80, and he found all this writings in the attic, and he wrote this book about how we are all a chain. We're only as strong as our weakest link. I wish I knew his name to credit him. I'll ask. But of course. We're only as strong as our weakest link.
And yet that phraseology is used to hurt people, to tell them that they're the weakest link, right?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
But
too.
it's true.
Mm-hmm.
And what that should do is make us let's strengthen the weakest link, but instead it's used to point fingers.
You're right. It's your fault that
Why?
This is breaking down. I think that's so crazy that the biggest villain of our day is a houseless person. The biggest weapon of our day is a tent. Like, I read the news out on 122nd. It's like gun violence all the time, and it's super neglected. It's another question in the Oregonians questionnaire, whatever, OPB. I'm like, we're always focused on these tents as being like the thing that's breaking our society, but meanwhile, you're neglecting some real violence in communities of color largely, and just like, I don't understand.
Pointing our fingers at the tent so we don't have to think about why they're fucking there in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I did this art piece when Jerry and I first started hanging out in that art group, where I drew a tent, and then I split the background into the forest, into a dirty city. And it's like, are y'all paying attention? Do you realize, like, are you having fun when you go out camping and pretend you're homeless? Like, fuck you.
Exactly.
Like, homeless cosplay to go, like, be in nature like a good American? Like, come on. While you're going to sneer at the tent your neighbor is living in when it's the only fucking thing he has.
And take their tent away.
That's the latest development now.
Right, and that's environmentally unconscionable. I keep trying to say that. Like, you're throwing that away. It's the climate is not going to tolerate that. Everything. And they care for everything that they have. That's one reason they don't want to go into, like, these group shelters. They're like, I have this much stuff. I want to make sure I keep this much stuff. A locking box. Ground Score Association made it so clear to me, like, an entire person's campsite. I mean, a person's entire campsite can oftentimes fit in a box like this. And if they can lock it up for the day, they have the ability to look for work or to do picking up cans or whatever, or to get their medications that they need, without which they might develop into psychosis or to seek treatment, but they need this locking box. And at the very least, the city could provide whatever 6,000 locking boxes so that those people are like, I can have a bit of freedom and know that my few possessions are valued enough by my city that my city values me enough to know that these are special to me.
Yeah.
Maybe in this new world that will happen, not in the old one. That definitely wasn't an option.
I want to do it. I want to build the new world.
I mean,
We're doing it right here, right?
Which is great fun because my cult talked about the world tomorrow. And so as a kid, I was like, well, yeah, all the things we want to see happen, no more pain, no more suffering, helping each other. Like, I don't know if I could fully wrap my head around the God part of it because, unseen and all. So my little brain was thinking about the world tomorrow, and I thought we could do it. It made sense to me that we could care for each other and do that. So here I am still seeking the world tomorrow. What do you do?
Yeah. Interesting. What was the cult called? Is it
Worldwide Church of God?
Worldwide Church? That's my dad.
Yeah, Armstrongist. Pretty shitty stuff. But, he lured him in with the world tomorrow idea.
Yeah, right.
But the apocalypse had to happen first. So
Right.
I'm kind of like, can we skip that part and just, see that that's a possibility and undermine it by, taking care of each other,
it's kind of the question a child would ask.
I know. And so then sometimes I'm like, am I just stupid? Am I, like holding on to this ridiculous idea that we could actually do it? Is that silly? Am I fooling myself?
Well, if you were silly then, you're silly now.
Yep, stay silly, man.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. How do I make more
Make
people
the
be
world safe for
crazy
silliness.
enough to think that we could do it? Because isn't that what it takes?
I don't know why, as you know, I'm never hopeless. I know way too much to not be hopeless, but I never am.
That's amazing.
And I think
Irony.
Some of it is I didn't get socialized. That free-range chicken thing is that I've always been free. And my parents, they never told me what to do. I mean, they weren't negligent. They just assumed I would make good choices. And they never told me what I should think. They never told me who I should vote for. They never told me what I should study in school. So I had to figure it out. And as I tell my older daughter, some of it I got right.
Aww.
Figuring it out on my own. Some of it I didn't.
Isn't that as good as anyone can hope for?
That's as good as,
Yeah.
And I
have
feel
to make mistakes.
grateful every day for having had that opportunity to fuck up.
Exactly.
Which I did.
We learn the most when things go wrong. We always have.
Yeah.
And then we go to
So
school
we
and
should
we
be
get in
grateful to
trouble.
capitalism?
No. Listen,
I mean,
we go
that's
to
what we learn
school
from.
and they tell us we're wrong and bad and we got a D because we made some mistakes. Right? Red marks instead of oh, well, great. Now you learn something new. What? We've got it all backwards.
Oh, wow. So now I have an additional thing to be grateful for.
Yay! I know. I have new friends. I have
Yay,
new friends.
Lee.
You have new friends.
Yeah.
And a buffalo to remind you.
I know.
On maps, this part of Portland beyond 82nd is labeled Terra Incognita. Oh, now we're using Latin. This is disgusting. Here be monsters, right?
Right.
There's just no sense of this community. So the chance for this community in particular, there are other
So
communities,
exciting.
to have this opportunity that
Representation.
they've never had.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because I
Yeah.
know you're the mayoral candidate, and so you're not in the ranked choice voting exactly, but it's certainly
Well, you're gonna
affect
rank
you,
choice your
right?
mayor too. Yeah, you get to pick.
Oh,
the three. So
okay.
I love it because it's not been combative. Initially when I jumped in, heard from plenty of people, including the one week. Well, you're hurting Carmen Rubio's chances, and Carmen Rubio is thought to be the one person who can beat Renee Gonzalez. A lot of people anyone but Renee. So, and then if I'm hurting Carmen's chances, then
Just
I'm
walk
facilitating
away.
the fascist. Or, that's not how it works with ranked choice voting. You can pick her first, pick me second. You can pick me first and pick her second, and she'll get my votes if and when I'm knocked out.
Isn't there a campaign song? Oh, just walk away, Renee.
Ooh. I like it.
I have given you something free besides the buffalo.
All right. Yeah, but to the city
that's
council,
a great thing, man. That's a great thing. I'm good. I'm really good.
Yes,
I'm old, but I'm good.
But so one of the biggest joys of this campaign season for me has been campaigning alongside the city council candidates, because they are brilliant. They're passionate. They're dedicated. I've met so many cool people. I mean, the mayor's race compared to the council race is like a clown car, I always say. It's just, I don't know. I don't think there's as much brains or talent, honestly, in the group of us compared to the council. And also just that the city's finally getting representation. Typically, it would be all like District 4, like West Hills, Selwood people would be running our city, maybe a sprinkling of Inner East Side. But now, like 3 candidates, as many candidates in East Portland as are in the moneyed, West. That's so
subversive,
awesome. It's about time. Maybe, it's about time.
And the politicians think they didn't really mean it when they approved this. They didn't know.
They don't know what they're doing.
No, we know. Oh wait,
That's infuriating.
they alone can do it. That sounds familiar, doesn't it?
That's making
Off with their
Presidential
heads.
campaign.
That's cult talk. Just saying.
I saw some socks with a guillotine on them. I thought they were so cool.
Socks with a guillotine?
Yeah, I mean, just think of the French Revolution. I'm like, you guys, you can only push the proletariat so far. I mean,
Yes.
we have been, there's so many of us, and we do have power. We forget it. It's like mass hypnotism, and
We're
gotta be
conditioned.
careful. Yeah, because you can look how women lost their rights in Afghanistan and Iran and look at North Korea. Like, there's so many North Koreans. Why can't they just like rise up? I know. I know it's harder than
Here's
that.
part of the task. So there in Sweden, the concept is called learned helplessness, which is to learn that you're helpless even when you're not. Some more political types call it surplus powerlessness. You believe that you're powerful when you're not.
Huh.
So a whole lot of energy goes into convincing people that there is no alternative to capitalism, and that they do not have the power, obviously, because there are billionaires who will take care of it for us. So again, this opening up that Kamala doesn't create, but certainly opens up a possibility. And so when my friend says that city council people will be elected to be community organizers, that's the key to, well, besides kindness, the key to everything is community organizing.
Yeah.
Right?
Get that kindness in the room together
And in all of the conversations we've had with the idea of community organizing has been paramount, because everyone understands that it's going to take community organizing to get people to vote and to care enough, pay enough attention to actually be able to do it, intelligently. We're so broken. We're not broken, but we're crumpled a little bit. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. So it's really. I mean, hope is another one of those words that's a little bit of a cliche, but it's actually kindness and hope are kind of the two things we need to unlock the potential that we have as a only slightly failed animal species.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, we got to give them something more interesting than a YouTube video.
Don't tell your daughters that.
Yikes,
Well, I know.
Yeah,
I
okay.
know.
Something that
So,
makes
and
them
that
feel alive.
that can only be done person to person.
Yeah.
As much as I love you, Patty, social media will not do it.
You can connect person to person on social media. It's true. You can make real, human, actual connections that way.
It's amazing how the candidates who are at the forefront in the council race really have used social media adeptly.
Right.
But you can message, you can reach so many people because everyone's on their stupid phones, which is.
But can you reach them? The old school says. So I believe that you can. It's pretty easy. You can organize a demonstration, but you can't build a movement online. You have to be together. You need the collective energy of the human spirit, which
love it.
gets blocked. I'm not opposed anymore to social media as I was
I know.
when we started. I understand it has its uses, but I'm just waiting for for devices to man the barricades when we actually get to the stage of resistance. Yeah, no.
Okay, I will remind you again of this thing that happened that was entirely digital, online, where some millennial type folks, I know that's like they're all old now, but some younger digital savvy people figured out that Trump was having a rally and you could sign up for a ticket.
Yes.
They sent out the call. They took control of that. The Trump campaign was so excited they were going to have 1 million people come to this thing. And they got tricked because of these people who knew how to use social media.
I'm not saying it doesn't have its uses.
I know. And I do realize
It cannot
it's not
person.
balanced.
You don't man barricades anymore. You person a barricade. Let's be clear
that's
about
fair.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be way more women than the men when you get right down to it.
Well, the facility,
Transgender people.
like for me as a single mom shift worker who can devote, sadly, fewer hours than the other candidates to my campaign, the utility for me of social media is that I can, if I connect with somebody one-on-one, that person hopefully can connect to another person, but they can turn them on to my social media where I start to be more persuasive. And ideally I do see them one-on-one and they're like, I know you, I watched that video, but
Fine.
there's a huge web. Like, how am I going to meet 600,000 Portlanders? No. I want to, but I just
you didn't
can't.
hear my disclaimer. I don't oppose social media.
No, I didn't hear that.
understand the limits, and you do too.
Yeah,
I mean, do you think that your on-stage performance on social media has the same impact as your?
Oh hell no! And I'm always an advocate for it. Like that's why I strip. I think porn is boring, and not that I do anything really like porn, but to see a real live naked woman in the flesh is much different than two-dimensional. Yeah, you get the holistic, and they have thoughts, and you have to hear them. It's scandalous. And the moments when I really shine are like when I am in a group of people. Like there was a candidate mixer at the Laurelhurst, which was a moneyed crowd. It was capacity, and it was all at the point 6 mayoral candidates. We each did like a 20-minute speech, and most of the people walk out of there like, I know, I'm picking the stripper. I'm picking the stripper because I just like, wow, I'm a preacher's daughter, and the others were just kind of bureaucrats or policy wonks, just like mailing it in, really awkward, not very much charisma. And then I got up there. And that's, I'm much better selling it in that environment. But it's also, they don't fit my schedule all the time. I've tried, so Andra was huge inspiration to me. I mean, throughout the campaign, but a lot of the metrics are that for mayor's race, you have to get 750 Portland donors to even be on the debate stage. And then you get $100,000 matching funds too. But I was getting plenty of donors, but not the donors I needed. I just loved Andra's campaign because they're running with no donations. Like, doesn't matter. I'm still changing the conversation. I'm still getting my message out. But then a couple weeks ago, the Oregonian mentioned my campaign and donations started climbing. And so I sat down every morning. This is really outside my comfort zone. I love coffee mugs. And I would be like, good morning, Portland. I'm here with my favorite, find from William Temple House, and we need some donors today. Here's how we did yesterday. And all of a sudden the donations, we got 750. We found out yesterday that we were certified 750 donations. We got matching funds. We get $80,000. That's as much as I make in 2 years. Now I have to figure out how to spend it. So that legitimizes our campaign, but still they're saying that we can't join certain debates because we have to also have made $50,000 with our campaign. And although we have as many donors, our donors are small donors, which is under $25. That's a large donation for a lot of people. It's not micro. Right. And just that this whole small donor election program exists to welcome small donors in and have people like me run. And then the metric at the end is like, oh, actually you needed to make more. It's just like, oh, I'm gonna cause a little bit of hell about this. But
so they're making us feel like everyone gets a say now with these little small donor donations, but then it doesn't actually work because at the top they're still like, wasn't that fun that we let them give their money to those candidates that we're not going to let win?
Right. We have all the donors that they do, but we have $40,000 that we raise, which is a ton of money for raising it $5 at a time, $10, $20. Yes. But it's not enough to be on the debate stage. We need an extra $10,000 in the next 10 days. I'm like, I'm not prioritizing that. I'm prioritizing meeting people. I'm tired of asking for money. I see now why politics is so much like, we got to get these donations up. Partly it's to get your message out, I guess, but also there's a metric, or, you're not taken seriously until you have this war chest. So before I came here, I wrote to the Oregonian, and they wanted a comment from me about how it felt to get certified or whatever. And I was like, it feels shitty because here's why. Like, we're still not going to be on the debate stage because, this is the first year of this small donor elections program. There's going to be some kinks, but that's a big kink because that runs contrary to its mission and contrary to the mission of democracy. So that was my first cup of coffee.
Call out the bullshit. I love it. And you know what I feel like you were doing with your cup of coffee and your hey everyone is you were giving them hope because you told them that donations happened yesterday.
Yeah.
So we are a happening campaign. You're not giving this to a black hole, right?
Did you see any of them?
No, but okay. I'll go look now.
Yeah, you gotta go check them out.
But I can just tell.
Awkward. I'm so awkward.
Oh, whatever. I know.
Well, that would be charming, and you could fake it to be charming, but you're not.
That's what the pros said. These are really genuine. You're hitting on something.
Yes. Well, that's what every social media content creator thing says is be authentic.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
that's the word they used.
Right? It's like how can I be authentic? I'm not going to decide to do that. I'm just going to not hold bullshit in my head.
I should never have drank a quart of water this morning.
Oh, no.
Do we need a break?
I'll be right back. Well, you can speak to lots of people. So what did you say your work was?
My work? I'm a stripper.
Was there another? Because I thought you mentioned something else.
Oh, well, I mean, I bartend once a week at Bunk Bar, which is a local small business that originally they hired me off the stage to be their hostess at Clark Lewis. I love working in food service. I did that as a teen. I really love the camaraderie and working with people. I still write occasionally. I used to get a lot of money writing. I edited a magazine, but that's just fallen off. Just the way the culture is. And my band, I am a landlord now. I have a duplex that I bought with my brother 20 years ago, and he moved back to Duluth. So I rent out 3 rooms. I mean, so it's just like a wing and a prayer putting it all together. And I try to always, try to keep my rents as low as I can. And
you know what?
It's so hard for me to raise the rent. But then when I see some of the utility bills, I'm like, we're all going to have to move out if I don't raise the rent. And so that's
there's a contradiction, and you just have to live with it. Mm-hmm. Property is theft. Owen George, 1905.
I know. I do not like owning a house, but
when Catherine, who Patty knows, was 4, said, "Daddy, we'd come back from Africa. Daddy, who owns the world?" And I said, "Don't be silly, honey. Nobody owns the world." And I thought, "Oh fuck." It's like, we think we do. Oh my God.
Yeah. Gosh, I know.
It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah. Ownership of land. If the city owned all the land and could set prices of housing, and everyone was renting their property from the city. I mean, still it would be problematic, but it would be less so than individuals buying up land.
In New York now, you have to bid for apartments.
Really?
They don't have rents. They say, "How much are you willing to pay?"
No.
This is like my granddaughter who was at NYU bidding on an apartment.
Oh my God, that makes me feel like we're so fucked.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's so much vacancy too. Entire neighborhoods are gutted out by prospectors who just sit on the property.
So I understand you can't get a haircut for less than $50 in Los Angeles.
Wow.
I mean, I can't get a haircut for $50, and I have hardly any hair at all. I mean, that's talk about a ripoff. If I had hair.
Have an anarchist hairstylist like I do. I've been going to the same hairstylist since 1996. She's an anarchist. I mean, I do a double process and a cut, and she charges me $65. I mean, it would be $250 or something.
This is not a real haircut.
It'd be $250 for.
This is not a real haircut.
Yeah,
$50 in LA.
but yeah.
Well, so then is that a trade situation? Because
She just keeps her prices low.
Okay.
She has her own salon. She doesn't believe that prices should be any higher than that. She doesn't need them to be. I'm like, you're getting. She's my age, and she's starting to hurt more. I'm like, you could raise the prices a little bit and maybe take a day off. Wouldn't that be good? But she was part of the Portland anarchist scene back in the 90s. 90s were cool. I mean, there were struggles then too, but
that was the The Wobblies were organizing, and the cafe, I can't remember the name of the cafe.
Red and
down
Black,
there.
was it? It was called something
No,
else.
Red and Black was over by St. Francis. This was like on Burnside, up from the theater there. It was a wobbly. It was specifically a wobbly
That's what she was.
bar, and that was kind of fun. I'd have to say, I left Portland in 2000 for 8 years. We lived at the coast, but 95 to 2000, so much crazy shit, good shit happened.
Yeah, that's when I moved there.
It was really, it was a vibrant, brilliant community. So my gratitude is always, I've gotten to love, care about, and work with extraordinary people, mostly in the U.S., little in Eastern Europe, some in Africa. Doesn't get any better than that. Does not get any better than that.
Gotta hold space for them. You gotta say no to the not extraordinary people. I mean, everyone's a little bit extraordinary, but there's a lot of people who are hypnotized by the bullshit, and if you can like kind of stay clear of them and hold space for the next amazing thing, sometimes you have to hold space for 5 years, and then it will appear. Like this mayor thing, I think it was in there, but it needed the right time to kind of grow.
Let's just go back to where you started. If it hadn't been for what?
For my cancer experience, for having to rely on the kindness of others, like what was it, Blanche Dubois. For a year during cancer, people brought me food and held me, and then so when I got pregnant, my daughter's father made it clear that I would have an abortion or he would leave. So I was like, okay, I'm doing this on my own, and I never would have had the strength or bravery to do that if I hadn't had cancer and known that I would be okay. I just knew. He's like, well, I just assume you're going to move back to Minnesota. I'm like, no, I got this.
Oh, so and you did have it, but you needed that experience of solidarity. You needed that experience of people coming around you. You needed that experience of, I don't know, women taking care of each other because nobody else is going to do it.
Yeah, well, I hate asking for help too. You know, growing up in the Midwest, like, often joke that as a Lutheran minister's daughter, whatever.
Lutheran, oh my God.
The first time somebody bought me a drink, I'm lucky I didn't marry the person. Like, you're supposed to say, like, oh, no, that's okay. No, that's okay 3 times. And then you owe them your life if they give you, like, you just don't accept gifts very easily. Or certainly you don't ask for help.
Right.
I asked for help once.
See?
That's so true, though. I don't know why that is. It's weird.
I got really good at it, and now look at me. I'm asking for people for money every other day.
I mean, these are such important lessons. I mean, I think they're larger than your story. It's the story of how we survive. We survive because we're supported by each other.
Yes.
And I'd have to say, pregnancy is also a community of women that naturally forms, that doesn't form for men. There's nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing.
It's hard to be a man. I see my partners struggle with isolation.
The closest thing is prostate cancer, because 1 in 6 men will have that. And they don't handle it really well, but it does make them come out of their shells a tiny bit. To say, I'm not going to let any doctor put his finger up my ass. Feel free to die. It's up,
Yeah, right.
So it's just like...
Some people charge extra for that. Pay extra for that.
Yep. It was a dirty joke, Jerry.
I'm sorry, what?
It was kind of a dirty joke. I don't know. I even hate calling things dirty anymore.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not dirty. It's just things that make other people
I beg
uncomfortable.
your pardon.
My kid listens to all this music that's hypersexual.
I don't even know what... I know what a disrespectful joke is. I don't know what a dirty joke is.
Dirty joke has some like sexual innuendo
Right, I mean,
to it. But yeah, dirt and sex.
I thought the thing with tampons was really compelling.
I know the scariest thing about that is like people were like shush you for using the word cunt. I'm like, I get to use whatever word I want.
Yes.
I can't. Yeah, and that's right. That's okay. I mean, it's like it's gifts. I keep getting these gifts of being able to understand at some level. There's things I will never understand, but I'm not good at this. But I'm never mind about that. After my wife died, she actually retrained me about asking the most important question and considering someone else's oppression or not what's happening. It's like, what would it feel like? And as soon as you ask that question, doors open up.
Wow, yes. Yeah, these magical things keep happening to you. Must be something to do with you.
Yeah. I mean, So I've just traveled in so many communities with being given such gifts that it also makes me understand that all that's possible is an open heart and an open mind and humility, which doesn't come easy for some of the genders.
And maybe a little psilocybin. And we might have it
Yeah,
made.
exactly. I had friends when I was I've never taken drugs. So in the 60s who would beg me not to take drugs.
Oh.
They said, you're already so fucked up.
Our very first episode, he agreed to do weed with
And I
me.
lied. I just lied to your face because I wanted to get your approval. But I just feel like I'm so admiring of your moving into your life in a positive way and not running from it, not hiding from it, not pushing it, but just doing what you knew was right. It's not complicated,
Listen for the calling. It sometimes calls. And we have to change and grow, right? Metamorphose. And I was like, I needed to grow out of my, I had a bad eating disorder as a teen, so I had to go through a 12-step method. That really influences too how I see addiction, because I was an addict. Like I just could not get out of whatever loop it was in my head that was making me not eat or compulsively exercise or then, binge eat. It was all consuming, and I got my life back through, I had to go to AA. They made me go to a 12-step, and that was all that was available. And I sat in a room in Duluth, it was like houseless Native Americans and rich housewives, and everyone came together to the same table, and their stories weren't that different, and they're all just vulnerable and trying to change, and you're like, these people all the same.
It's almost like the solidarity you experienced when you had cancer.
Yeah.
But that lesson of solidarity is such a critical lesson. You have to open yourself up to it. It won't come to you. You have to be open. But it's like, that's how, I think maybe that's why I never lose hope, is because I feel this love and connection to the people around me, and I can't imagine that we won't prevail, regardless of what, because...
I think we'll have half and half. I just think we always have half and half.
The antagonism.
Yeah, everything's just half shit and half amazing, and it's just how it is.
And some shit is just amazing when you get into it. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So appreciate it.
Wonderful conversation.
So that's where I've decided we're talking hearts, not talking heads. And we just drop in because we're serious. And we trust each other. And we don't care who's listening in. I would do that.
That's right.
Not hordes of people listening in.
It's not a place for fear.
But it's like, I can't help myself because Patty took the title of the podcast, Speaking Truth to Goodness, from something I had written. So I can't stop telling you how good you are, how important you are, what a difference you make.
Yay!
Yay,
Liv! Thank you for being here, and thank you for running for mayor.
Thank you. Yes, follow along on my YouTube channel. Just kidding. I don't have it, but if you are on Instagram,
smash that like button.
Yeah, right. My kid, spread the word.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Speaking Truth to Goodness. We've had the unique pleasure of talking with Liv Østhus, a mayoral candidate who challenges the conventional boundaries of political engagement with her honest and forthright campaign. Liv shares her bold vision for Portland, focusing on revitalizing the city's cultural and artistic heartbeat while addressing critical urban issues. Her commitment to fostering hope and inspiration through arts and culture offers a compelling narrative for leadership, one that values authenticity and emotional connection. As Liv articulated her strategies for what it might look like to be mayor in our new council model, it's clear that her approach to leadership is deeply intertwined with her life as an artist and activist. We hope you found inspiration in Liv's story and her ambitious plans for Portland. Please continue to engage with us by liking, commenting, and sharing this episode. Join us next time as we connect with Andra Voltavine and sum up the conversations had at our roundtable of candidates this 2024 election cycle in Portland. Let's keep speaking truth to goodness, because goodness is all around.